No, when the local authority have concerns about the welfare of a child, they would apply to court for an interim care order. And in that interim care order, it allows the local authority to place children in foster care in the interim until, maybe the parents have made significant changes and
Yeah.
then they feel the child can return home. Or if they feel adoption is the next process, they would obviously be in foster care until they can find adoptive parents that are suited for this child.
That's right.
So yeah, Keely, you were in foster care. Tell us a bit about your journey and how you got there.
Wow, where do I begin? So I first entered the foster care system as a newborn baby.
Oh
So my mother,
wow.
yeah, as a newborn baby, literally fresh out of the womb, essentially. So my mother had schizophrenia, and I
Mm,
think during the time when she had me, unfortunately, she had a mental breakdown,
mm.
which meant that I was actually left and abandoned in a supermarket.
Wow.
Yeah, and I believe someone came for me, and that was when social services picked me up and I was put into foster care for a short period of time. And then when my mother was more mentally stable, I then went back into her care. And I stayed with her for quite a long time, up until the age of 11.
Okay.
But it's really, really bizarre because this is where I think social services sort of failed, because they sort of saw that although my mother was, not mentally strong, they thought to themselves, it's okay to still leave this child with her.
Mm,
And that was when I unfortunately suffered so much different, cases of abuse, mental, physical, sexual, emotional, literally
mm,
day in, day out. We'd stay on the street at night because she didn't actually feel safe indoors because she had psychosis. So psychosis
yeah.
actually comes from schizophrenia, which is, yeah, a type of psychosis. And so she often thought that there was like demons in our house. And
Mm,
so, yeah, we usually left the house a lot, to sort of escape from what it is that she potentially saw.
yeah.
And she essentially saw that the streets were her safe place, or she felt that the streets were her safe place. And so we spent a lot of time on the streets.
Wow. It's so interesting to hear. Obviously, I didn't actually know that it was from birth that you kind of went. So I understand why you
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
know
yeah, yeah, yeah.
sort of the impact in terms of like whether you were under an interim care order. But a lot of the cases that we find today is literally because the mother or father suffers from mental health. And
Literally.
it's difficult because sometimes it's like you just want to shake the person. It's like just get the help you need, but
Literally.
they can't help themselves,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I'm assuming what would have happened is probably a referral was made from the hospital to social.
So actually, how a referral was made was, one day we was actually in the front garden,
Mm.
and my mother was literally attacking me. She was literally punching me
Wow,
up,
as a baby.
as a youngin. So remember, I stayed in her care till about
Okay,
age 11.
okay.
So yeah, I would say from about 11, I was being literally punched up in the front garden,
Mm.
and my next door neighbor came out, and my mum saw that and she quickly stopped. But thankfully, they clocked on, and I think they were the ones that actually made the call to social services. And we
Yeah,
literally, I think we got a phone call probably the following day to say, look, something's not right here. We've come to sort of visit you to check this
yeah.
out. And they sort of realized just from seeing the state of the home that, yeah, we need to remove this child, and we need to remove this child very, very quickly.
Wow. So do you know if they went to court? Like, do you know if there was a process? Obviously, I mean, they have to because you need a care order. But were you
Yeah.
aware at that time?
At that time, no.
What was the transition?
The transition was so speedy.
Mm.
They literally picked me up from school and literally came and removed me, and that was it. And they sectioned my mum. So
Okay.
she went into a mental institution.
Hmm.
And yeah, I was in foster care literally ever since, from the age of 11 up until the age of 24.
Um,
Yeah,
and did your mum like what was obviously you don't have to share too much about her,
sure.
but like did she ever try to come back and get you? Did family members try to come and look after
Yeah.
you instead?
So as I understand it, I think there was a court proceeding
Hmm.
where she did attend, and I think she did try to get me back. But I think because her mental health just wasn't in the right space,
Of course, yeah.
the judge obviously failed that court case. And so, yeah, I was just sort of kept in foster care.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was like foster care like for you?
Foster care. Oh, foster care was quite a journey. I think foster care is where you really encounter that so much people really do it for the money. Like, not a lot of people are actually in it for the heart.
Yeah.
You know, if you sort of look at like the advertisements that are going out there for
Mm-hmm.
fostering agency, it's like, you know, we've got this, you know, you can earn £2,000, up to £2,000 if you have a spare room and you can just put your child in there. Yeah, even the adverts alone is just like a money making scheme. So I encountered many different foster carers that were basically just in it for the money.
Did you go to different homes, or was you just the
loads of different homes, like loads of different homes, like so many people that just didn't care enough, you know. Yeah.
And obviously, so how it would work in terms of the court proceedings is, you would as a child would have a guardian who's got a legal representation.
That's right.
Representative rather, and they would obviously advocate for you. So for example, we would say that, okay, what is the child's wishes and feelings, and it's for the guardian to meet with you, to assert that and kind of put it forward to the court. Did you ever have, because I always wonder, do the guardians actually speak to the children? Do they actually assert their wishes and feelings? When you're like free, it's understandable. You're going to just say their child's wishes and feelings is probably to be safe, to be in the care of family, and to be protected. But when you're a bit older, I always question, I always want to know, like, is that relationship actually there? Do you feel like guardians and social workers, because obviously you also have interactions with them, do you feel like they actually put forward your views, and do they take that on board?
That's a really good question. So I think during my time in care, I remember just having one guardian, and I remember meeting her on just one occasion. And I think, that was sort of like a very short, you know, snappy chat. And I don't actually know like how that process was sort of taken forward, how she, you know, voiced my opinions and, you know, sort of my views. But I think one thing that I would say is that if you're a guardian out there, you know, to just take your time with
Look at the
child.
camera and tell them.
One thing that I would say is that if you're a guardian out there, you know, just take your time with the young person. You know, don't make it short and snappy. You know, the child is not just a caseload or a tick box exercise. Actually spend time with your young person in finding out what that young person really needs and finding out what their views are. You know, it's really important.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I think it's just difficult because even with social workers, sometimes I tell people, like, we have to give them grace to an extent. And the reason why I say we give them grace is because I think people fail to recognize that it's not just one family they're dealing with.
It's so many.
It's multiple.
And this is the thing. This is where I think local authorities are actually failing social workers, you know. They're giving them huge caseloads, like 40 plus people. How are they supposed to have like 40 plus people?
They get abused.
Yeah.
They get cussed out. Like everything under the sun that you can imagine. They experience it. And, you know, even me as being a solicitor, I read some of these cases and you do get emotional. Sometimes your heart does, like, it breaks and you're like, I can't do this. Like the emotional, I've gone through a period where I had emotional fatigue where I couldn't even empathize with my clients. I was just like, it's just another case. And that's so sad. And you never want to get to that place.
But I think it's funny you say that, because I think a lot of social workers are struggling and suffering from emotional fatigue, where they're actually not on their child's level anymore. You know, they're disengaged with that child and what it is that they've been through and their current experiences. And, you know, it's sort of like just literally a tick box exercise. Okay, you know, I've gone to see this client. Let me tick this off, tick this off, tick this off. And I think they're actually suffering from emotional fatigue.
It's difficult. It's so difficult. And I think there needs to be a better way, but maybe it's a case that maybe it's not just one guardian. Maybe there needs to be two, and you know that one, maybe like a junior guardian, and you know that guardian is kind of allocated to this child. Because I think sometimes it's not enough to come to court and say, this is the child's wishes, and it's not enough. You need to know this child. You need to know,
absolutely,
you know, their wishes and feelings and what they want. You know, it's so important.
Absolutely.
But okay, so social workers, I want to talk about like your experience with them. I know obviously it was quite quick. I think with your mum's case, she probably didn't contest as much because of the situation. But you do find parents that go through the whole, you know, the 26 weeks process, and they do fight for it.
Yeah,
And social workers obviously very heavily involved, more than the guardian is.
definitely.
Did you have much interaction with a social worker? What was your experience with them?
So I had loads of social workers to the point where it's literally uncountable. Like, so many social workers that literally said hi and literally bye. Like sometimes I would see them, 1 week, and then I'd be seeing another social worker another week. There will literally be like many, many, many. I would say that in my time of being in foster care, I've probably only had 2 or 3 social workers that actually showed that they cared. Social workers that sort of took me out, did sort of games with me, bought me stuff at like Christmas or birthdays. The other social workers that I had, which was many before that, were absolutely useless, if I'm honest with you. But now being a person on the other side of the care system and knowing, as we rightfully just stated, about the burnout and the fatigue and how much loads is really on their case, I get it. But it's still not good enough. It's really, really still not good enough. And I don't know what the local authority would need to do in order to sort of tackle that issue, because it's actually a pandemic. It's an epidemic.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
it's serious.
It is.
Yeah.
And one thing we're going to do on this series is we're going to have a social worker come on and just kind of share their experience, because I feel like it's a lot. And when you hear, like, if I speak to a random person on the street right now and say, what's your opinion of social services? You're not going to hear anything positive.
No, you're not.
And sometimes it's not fair, because social workers have to write, like, sometimes there are some cases that are just not acceptable, and that's like a given. But also there are some cases that are social workers write statements, and they have to do it within a really short time to get. I know it's the career that they've chosen, but it is a lot. You have to write reports, you have to write evidence, and you have to visit the homes. And it's not a sit at the desk kind of job.
It's not. It's like it's like holistic. You have to be at the child's beck and call. You have to pick up the phone to several different, parents and young people. It's difficult. And there's only one social worker, and it feels like there has to be like multiple people doing that role, in order to get the solutions for that young person.
So you never met your solicitor, whoever represented you? Do you even know who that was?
No, they're literally unknown. I could be walking past them on the street today. I would never know.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. I think that's something as well that I'm quite, like, I think it's important that you know that stuff. I mean, it's obviously some people may not want to know, but I do think it's important that you kind of know who's representing you.
Definitely.
Who is actually the voice, because at the end of the day, they're the ones essentially given the judge information to make a decision about your future.
Literally.
Which is insane.
And I actually remember, it's funny that you say that, because I remember my foster carer coming back after they went to court and letting me know that my social worker did such a bad job at representing my case in court, to the point where I think the judge was very unhappy. Very, very unhappy. But yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.